Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Taylor. I am the Director of Entrepreneurship from NewBoCo in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Welcome to Traction Thursday here in Fairfield. Traction Thursday is an entrepreneurial event intended to network entrepreneurs with other entrepreneurs to build a thriving startup community. The way the agenda will work, we will quickly go around the room to get introductions, just so that everybody knows who's in the room. To facilitate some of that networking, but it also helps our speaker maybe tailor some of his remarks to fit your needs, and he knows the perspectives that you're going to come in today.
I like to do the segue at the beginning. I do that with pretty much any meeting that I do. It is part of the EOS process to do that. What that does is it opens up people to talk about a little bit about something within themselves, but it also gets people to speak, because when what I'm going to be talking about today is going to be meeting structure, which is what I kind of call the front line. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about core values, which is kind of like the bigger things. And there's so many things that go in between that. But I thought that those would be two kind of bookends that I could just mention and speak about their value. And then we will open up to questions and things on all the things that come in between that. But one thing with meeting structure is, how do you get somebody talking? And if someone's sitting in a meeting and they're not speaking, do they need to be in the meeting? It doesn't mean they don't, but we should generally have the people in the meeting that are adding value to the meeting. And how do you get that person who has value to add to the meeting to speak up and add that value? So one way that we do that is by starting off with a segue, which just gets people talking. So it's usually a personal and a business best. You can get kind of clever with it just to get people talking. But, you know, we all learn something about each of us just through that really brief interaction. And through that, I'm now thinking about the people I'm working with in a deeper way. So I'm actually caring, like, I know that you have other things going on in your life, not just what this business meeting is about. So therefore, I have a stronger human connection. I have a little bit more care on how I speak to you, because a lot of times you will have people come in and they'll just be like, this is the way it is. This is how I want to talk. And you don't have any care for anything that's happening in the outside world. So I have 3 kids. I have a wife. I have recently got myself a couple of goats. And now I have all these rabbits that I'm dealing with and 40 chickens. And all my time that's not spent at work is spent on building a homestead. And, you know, those are just things that you start to learn about people. And when you do your weekly meetings, which I'm going to talk about, you start just to learn those things. And then you start to incorporate that in how you treat everybody around you. So this is a very that's very kind of squishy, like gets to your feels. But then I'm going to go through the meeting structure, which has a little bit of the feels to it, but it also keeps everybody on point of what they're supposed to be doing. So I'm going to go through a basic L10 meeting. And like I said last time I talked, this is a conversation. So I want you guys to raise your hands or give me some questions throughout, because I only got about 20 minutes. So if you guys don't ask questions, then if you want to get out of here, I guess you don't have to ask any questions, but I want to do that. And then I want to talk about the importance of core values, and the importance of core values being how it guides all the decisions that you make. And it's not just some big corporate word. It's the things that you actually take time to put onto paper, and you say, when I make decisions, I'm going to make them based on this. I'm not chasing the dollar sign. I'm chasing my passion. I'm chasing what I really want to be doing. And I'm chasing what we as a company, even if it's just a single person company, I'm gonna hire people, I'm gonna fire people, I'm gonna make big decisions based on my values. And then your decisions get a lot easier to make. So to start off with, I don't want to be I don't know how this thing works, so it's not showing, but it's not a big deal. I'm just gonna walk you through.
Or
someone just went to sleep. I think you just
do I have to
interrupt it with any action,
Or you just touch your.
Yeah.
Sorry.
have to get hooked up though.
I'm just kidding.
Be a funny guy. You just keep talking. I'll get this going for you.
It's not a big deal if people can see this or not, but it's kind of, oh, there you go. This is kind of nice to see. This is just the template that you use for your, it's called an L10, which is a leadership 10 meeting. It's a good way to run a meeting. I think plenty of people in here have been in meetings that do not run very smoothly, or you walk away and you're like, what the heck did we even talk about? What are we supposed to do next? Do I remember what I'm supposed to do next? Am I getting the right things done? So what does that do? That breeds anxiety for all the people in the meeting, because they walk away and then they come back to the next one like, oh crap, I forgot I was even supposed to do that. I forgot what we were actually talking about when this happened. So I'm going to kind of walk through how this can be very beneficial and how it can be utilized. So the first part of the meeting is basically you have to have a structure to it, and you need to set a time limit, and you need to honor everybody's time. So one thing that we always focus on, actual start time. So we have a meeting set for 10. We document this started at 10:07. Why have our meetings started at 10:07 for the last 3 weeks? This should be somewhat unacceptable. And you go, well, Jim in the meeting has to put his kids on the bus at this time. He can't make it here until 10:07. That's fine. Then our meeting starts at 10:50. We need to adjust it so that we are honoring everybody's time. So you put the actual start time. If you're not early, you're late, all that kind of stuff. But really, you got to respect the people that you're in the room with. So if you are showing up late every single meeting, then there's an issue there, and we need to adjust. Seems very small, but when you have, like, I've sat in kind of some larger rooms with some people with much more money than I have, and I've seen, the CEO or something walk in 5 minutes late to every meeting, and I'd pull them aside and go, "This is unacceptable. I don't care who you are, but you have to understand the halo that you wear, the influence that you have on other people. You're showing our whole company that it's okay to be late, and that's not okay." So that's the importance of that. So it's not just some line item on here. There's a meaning to it. So you see the segue, which we kind of just did there, but this is giving everybody a voice at the table. So you do your business and personal best. Yeah.
What do you do about cell phones?
No technology in the meeting. The only person that can have technology in the meeting would be the note taker.
What about your people above you, the chain of command, or in the meeting?
You all agree to the meeting standards. So when you come in right now, I'll say it because I'm not being recorded.
You are actually being recorded, so
Right now I'm working with the guys at Blue Rose, and I'm introducing this to them, and everybody has their phones out. And I'm like, guys, I'm at a 2 right now. Within 3 weeks, I'm going to be at a 10. At a 2 is I'm just saying, hey, put your phone away. Hey, turn that off. When I get to a 10, it is take your phone out of your pocket, put it in your bag. It does not live on the table. It doesn't live anywhere. And I tell them that, though. I'm like, hey guys, we're going to be cranking it up. But yeah, no technology at the meeting. I won't go too much into it. If you start to doing your quarterly meetings and stuff like that, you provide breaks where people may need to make phone calls or check emails because there is a company that is running behind them. That's a great question. Yes, sir.
Can you back up just a little bit and say, when would you apply this format? What is the use case for this structure
When would I apply it?
of this meeting type?
This is a weekly meeting, and I would say that if you have at least 3 people in your company, you should be doing this. There's a way to do it just for yourself when you're self-accountable. But obviously you're not going to be telling yourself your personal and business best. But you do need to hold yourself accountable. So does that answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, like, once you have like at least 3 different people that are making decisions, you should be doing this. Maybe even 2. But
So we have, and there's software out there, this is, so the technology component is key. When we went through the training to do EOS, there is a software package where you can enter all of your mission, core values, your rocks, and all of this stuff on. So we all have our laptops open to that
To follow
meeting,
along, yeah.
to follow it during meetings. So if you get to that level, it is really nice to have that documentation right here, and it's portable, and all of us get to use it.
Yeah.
That would be another exception to the rule, but
It would be, and if you were gonna go like what they would call EOS pure, you would print all those things and put them in front of everyone. I don't recommend, I think as long as your computer is focused on exactly what it's supposed to be and you're not writing emails and text messages and stuff like that, then that would be, yes, I agree. People need to follow along, or you can do something very simple, like have a screen. And then you can have one person talking about everything that you're talking about. From there, depending on the size of your company, you're going to go through the highlights. And the highlights are going to be good or bad things that are happening within the company. So this could be bad customer experiences. This could be great customer experiences. This could be Jill and HR is having a baby. We should all make sure that we say that. This is kind of a communication tactic. So as your company grows, someone comes in and they're like, oh, I didn't realize Jim over in maintenance was unable to make it to work today because of his dog died or whatever it is. And it's like, so then you can kind of have these highlights and just have at least a brief explanation on what's happening around you, so that when you do have an interaction with these people, you don't go the wrong direction. Like why? Yeah.
How do you prevent from getting into weird HR personal information? Like, if you know something about someone that has personal, like what is the line that you can't cross as far as, you know what I'm saying?
If we're talking about like disciplinary and
No, like, so if, let's say someone's dog did die.
Yeah.
Right? Is that your information to share?
that's where you kind of decide. Depends how big your company is necessarily, but that's where you would decide, hey, Jim's actually got some personal things going on. I just want to let you know that he's a little down. He doesn't need anything. You don't necessarily need to be specific, but you can say, hey, let's give him a little grace this week.
Okay.
And that's usually the direction I would take it. And obviously there's a lot of different extremes. You know, it could be somebody going through a divorce,
Right.
or somebody who has, I don't know, like a child pass away or something like that, where you're like, don't go bring that up to them. I just wanted to let you know they're going through some tough stuff. We're not going to talk about it here, but I want to let you know so that you can give them some grace this week.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And on the opposite side of that is we can highlight some really great things that they're doing. This person just had a child, so congratulate them. That's so great. You know, things like that.
Okay.
And that's just kind of a touch base. And this is, for your kind of like leadership team, this, you want to have a connection with everybody that's working with you. I wasn't sure if you were raising your hand. Nope. Okay. 5-minute rock review. So this again would be something that's kind of in between our L10 and our core values. Rock review, these are just our goals for the quarter. So what we would do at this point during the meeting is we'd pull up everybody's rocks, as Alex was kind of talking about, and we'd talk about their goals. And all we would talk about is we would just list off the goals in the person's name, and all they would say to us is it is either on track or off track. And we don't want someone sitting there talking for 20 minutes like, well, I'm supposed to get this software thing done, but this guy over here isn't getting back to me and this is happening over here. We just say it's either on track or off track. If it's off track, the first question we ask is, do we need to add this to issues? Which is later in the meeting. And you would just go yes or no. And we have enough trust with the people around us to know that, no, it's off track, but I don't need to talk about it here. I'm taking care of it somewhere else. Cool.
So an example for me, one of my rocks that most of you are familiar with is I have Entrefest organized 370 registrants and X amount of dollars raised to support. Am I on track or off track? And I'm on track. If I'm off track, it goes to an issue. I just say on track or off track, and if it's off track, I'll put it in something called IDS, which you'll get to.
Yeah. And that's where you kind of, this is one of the first things that you have to do when you're turning your knob up from 2 to 10 is people start wanting to talk. And it's like, this isn't the time for that. Nope, heard this off track. It's already on issues. We're going to talk about it. Shut the front door or whatever. From there, I think every company should have this. Some companies, every company should have this, which would be the scorecard. And again, this is kind of an on track, off track system. You're going to have a little Excel spreadsheet, but you pick out somewhere between 3 and 7 key numbers for your company to be successful. And you're tracking those every single week. So that is, we call it the windshield and the rear view mirror. So you can see when things are off track 3 weeks in a row, you start saying, what the heck's going on? So many companies will wait until the quarterly, when the P&Ls come out to start trying to solve what's going on here. We just noticed that this whole thing has been going wrong. And it's like the scorecard is to go, we've noticed that this thing has been going wrong for the last 9 weeks and we haven't done anything about it. Or you can say, we've noticed that it's been going wrong for the last 2 weeks and we did something about it. We made a change. Or we collectively agreed that it's off for a reason. Maybe we have the wrong goal. Maybe we have the wrong person, but you start solving those problems way quicker. And then when you see things that are on track, maybe for too long, you go, maybe our goal's off. Maybe we need to up our goal. We could be doing a lot better because this thing never seems to miss. And that's actually, not to get sidetracked, but that would also be with your quarterly goals. Your rocks, the quarterly goals, you want to hit about 80% because you want to miss. Because if you hit 100%, then you're not trying hard enough, you're not aiming high enough, you're not doing the right things. But if you're hitting 50%, then you're aiming too high. So then you adjust yourself from there. Same thing kind of goes into, so that is the scorecard. Do you guys have questions on the scorecard? So this would be like revenue, new customers gained, you could be your labor costs, anything like that you would want to track. One way that it is said is if you were the CEO controlling your company and you're sitting on an island somewhere, what are the few numbers that you would want to look at to know everything's going fine? And you just look at it and you go, profit's good, labor cost is good, overhead staying the same, or whatever those happen to be. We're still gaining new customers, or we're not losing any. And you would just go, you would look at that in the morning while you're sitting on the beach, put it down, and you'd go, give me another margarita. Yeah.
Who's writing who's and to-dos?
What's that?
In the meeting, who's writing them?
Yep. So you have a designated note taker. Yep. So you'd have a designated note taker, and then generally you'd have somebody else facilitating the meeting. So you go, hey, Dan, you're taking notes. I'm running the meeting.
I was just thinking about when you're doing like sales and production type of a business.
Yep.
And you have, you have like working jobs, projects that are underway.
Mhm.
And then I was wondering about the rear view mirror is also really helpful because we are on track to get this done on schedule, but we just got a giant order that sales has promised to fill by this. How are we gonna integrate that?
Right.
This sounds like a great way to basically let people know that it's not just this thing that you have to finish if all this is coming up.
Right.
Is that what that's for? Or is there another place?
So you're saying, like, you're looking at the windshield saying this other thing's coming up and it's gonna fill those orders?
Like we have to get all these jobs done by the end of the month,
Mhm.
and they're all on track to be done by the end of the month. But now we have all these 5 coming, or 6 or 10,
Yeah.
some giant order that comes in, that's gonna take up a lot of the team.
Mhm.
And you gotta kind of ramp it up and say, okay, let's try to get this, as much of this other stuff early, so you can bring in
Yep.
this.
That would be, yeah, so that would be, somewhat of like a curveball that's getting thrown at you, right? So that would land on your issues list and you would say, where are our priorities?
Okay,
Also, where are our core values? Do we want to take on 7 new projects right now? Or is it gonna run everybody dry? Are we chasing the dollar? Is it gonna lack work quality?
Right.
Is it gonna be the right product we wanna put out? And you have to make those hard decisions, but you can go, nope, I know that I can pull these two people aside. I know we can adjust accordingly. And yeah, we'll hit that. Or you
Well,
can
that's a
go,
great way to address the capacity, right?
exactly,
The quality and capacity.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, our next spot, go ahead.
So for this, you're basically comparing your business to your prior business. You don't have a model for comparing to, like, say, a competitor or something like that.
This is just, yeah, this would just be for your weekly meeting. So this is like the structure of the business that you are running, where you are now and where you want to be, and to help you get there.
We want to structure that so it's intentionally more optimistic, so you get 90% of your goals.
Right. Yeah, and you're always moving up. So that doesn't mean that you're not looking at competitors and getting new ideas or anything. This is like base layer. This is our weekly meeting, making sure we do that. So in between that and when you go to your vision and your values and all that stuff, is going to be your quarterly rocks. It's going to be your market research. It's going to be what are other people doing that we should be doing? What can we do better than others? And all that comes in somewhere in between. This is just how you keep your company going forward.
Is there one spreadsheet that covers our database that covers that top to bottom that you can sit and work on and fill out?
Yep.
So,
Yep. It's the VTO, the Vision Traction Organizer, and it's a 2-page thing that takes about, well, depending on the size of your company and all the things that you want to do, recommended to do at least 8 hours, if not 2 days to fill it out. But it is just 2 pages, but you have to put your heart and soul into that thing, and you got to really know what the heck you're talking about, and you got to have some hard conversations when you start putting that together. Yeah, and that's going to have your 10-year goals. It's going to have your 3-year goals, and then it goes down to your 1-year goals, and then your 1-year goals break out into your rocks each quarter. So then you go 10-year, this is kind of squishy. I want to make $1 billion. Okay. Well, call it 3 or 5-year goals. People choose different ones, but then you go to your 3 or 5-year goals and you go, well, if I was going to get there, how would I get there? Well, here's 20 things that I would need to do. I need to open up a new revenue source. I need to hire this many employees. I need to sell this product for a certain amount of money, blah, 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 blah. And then you take that and then you go into your 1-year goal and you go, what can I do this year to reach that goal? And then you go, okay, here's our 1-year goals. Well, we need to hire a new sales guy. We need to create this new product. We need to change our pricing and make sure that our labor is in line, blah, blah, blah. I need a HR person because we're going to be hiring 50 new people. And then you break that into like, okay, so what are we doing this quarter? This quarter is going to be, okay, this person is going to put out an ad for a new HR person. This person is going to put out ads for 30 new employees. This person's going to set up our interview thing. This person's going to do this. And you break that down. And then the next quarter, we're going to hire. And the next quarter, we're going to train, however it works. And then after the year, all of a sudden, you're 1 year closer to that 5-year goal. And then you just keep doing that year after year. And then obviously from those quarterly goals, it gets broken down into what are my to-dos for the week? Like, well, if I don't do this week, I call it breaking it into pebbles. You got this big old rock and now I got to break it into pebbles. What can I do this month? I gotta knock this out so I can do the next thing, to do the next thing, to do the next thing. Simple, not easy. It's just one of those things that when it's actually mapped out in front of you and people know what they're supposed to do, these big goals don't seem so overwhelming. You tell someone you want to make a $10 billion company and they're just like, okay, I'll come in at 9 and do whatever I need to do to get through the day and I'll do the same thing tomorrow. But you say, here's what needs to get done this week. They go, okay. And then they go, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do this week. The anxiety kind of starts to go away because when they go to sleep at night, they're not thinking, how do I get to 10 billion? They think, how can I get my thing done for this week? And they're like, I already did 3 things I could do today. It just feels better. And that goes into our to-dos. which will be very similar to our rock review. So this would be our last week's to-dos. So you would have one person's name next to the to-do, and we would go around, we'd go straight through this list. We'd just go, Dan, is this done? Yes or no? Done, not done. Not done. Does it go to issues? Does it stay on the list? And that's where you landed. So done, not done. I don't want excuses. We're not sitting here talking about this stuff. That's what the issues list is for. So you'll do that. That's our last week's to-dos. And all throughout this, your note taker will be right at the bottom doing new to-dos. So you're going to have to-dos happening throughout the whole meeting. So you're going to have your business headlines. There's going to be to-dos that come from that. Jim, whatever, stubbed his toe. Hey, Joe, we need to make sure that we file a whatever. We have to do this thing for HR. Cool. Your note taker's just like, hey, just put that as a to. Put that as a to. Hey, this rock. Actually, I just need to get in contact with Tommy over here, but I just don't have his contact. Okay, Bob, put him in touch with Tommy. Just make that a to-do real quick. So just throughout, you're just kind of like make that a to-do, knock it out. And then the bulk of your meeting will be on your issues list. So this is just going to be where all of these things come together. Everybody is able to populate this list throughout the week. And IDS, it is issue, discuss, solve. So you state the issue. So when you put something on here, we're not talking about how, I'm trying to not use all of the same names. Mark was kind of sad the other day, so he ended up not plugging this thing in. So then our mixer wasn't working. And it's like, what's the issue? Stop with all that. Tell me what the issue is. The mixer's broken. Okay, why is the mixer broken? Well, the cord got cut because somebody tripped over it. Okay, so what do we need? We need an electrician. Okay, let's discuss. Who knows an electrician? Okay, we're going to talk about this for a little while. And I know this guy. This is a stupid example, but whatever. But you get the point. Okay, we know that Jim knows the electrician. Okay, Jim, call the electrician, have him fix the mixer. To do. We identified it, we discussed it, and we solved it. Generally spend the most time on discuss because there will be some meaty things that need to get in there, but you need to stay kind of on track to be discussing the right thing. So when people start getting off track, you go, what is the issue? What is the issue? What are we actually trying to solve right now? And then you pull everybody back together and then you say, what is the solve? Sometimes there's not an easy solve and that needs to live on the issues list for another week. Or, the solve might be, we need to have a separate meeting, but then that is I'm going to set up a meeting for these people.
In your experience, how many times it is we don't have the money?
Oh, so many times. Yeah.
So the issue is,
We don't have the money. Well, then I would say, what's the issue? What are you using the money for?
all the things you don't have.
Well, exactly, but then that's where we would discuss. Well, I don't have the money to fix this mixer. Well, do we need the mixer? Well, we need the mixer. Okay, so then what do we not need so that we can have the money freed up to fix the mixer? Because we had to find it somewhere, or we need to decide that we don't want the mixer. Would that help solve that? I mean, you can't just make money grow on trees or anything, but if you're running a business, you have to have money coming in to be solving these problems. And if you don't have that money coming in, then you probably have some other bigger
Equity or
issues.
debt, do we want to go to debt? I mean, those.
Yeah, that would be another discussion that you would have. Do we want to take a loan? Is that the next step for us? Yeah. And then this populates. You have your to-dos. And then obviously this goes out to your team. You do not give somebody a to-do that is not in the meeting. You're not allowed to do that. One other thing I should point out, which I think is very important for your rocks as your goals and your to-dos, is you only have one person that is assigned to this, but that does not mean one person does it all. It means one person is held accountable to make sure it gets done. So there are many like big rocks where I've been 10% of it. And my team has been 90% of getting it done. But I'm the one in charge of making sure it gets done. So you don't put, well, it's me, but it's actually all these people. You don't put all those names down. It's me. It's Danny's job to make sure this gets done. So he reaches out to the people he needs to reach out to. He makes sure that gets done. He's held accountable. No, when we go to Danny, he goes, well, Jim didn't do his job. It's like, it wasn't Jim's job. It was your job to make sure it got done. And it was your job to bring it to the issues list if it wasn't getting done the way that it was supposed to. So you always have one person held accountable. From there, then we just go into your conclude. And then the conclude is just going over your to-dos and writing those very clearly. And one question I always like to ask is, when I talk to you about this in a week, because it's always like very relevant, you have the knowledge bias, right? When you're in the meeting, you know exactly what needs to get done. In a week, will you know what this means? So write it very clearly. And when we walk away, and if you don't know what this means, will you come and ask a question so that we can clarify it to make sure it gets done by the end of the week? Yes, yes, yes. Okay. State the person's name, state their to-do. They give you a thumbs up. You say, all right, you know your task for the week. And then the 10 part of the L10 is going through and rating the meeting. You know, why the heck do we need to do this? Waste our time doing this? Well, it's really important to hear the people's feedback, because the meetings aren't always going to be great, but we want to know how we can make them better. We want to know how to do it better next time. So if anybody says an 8, they don't have to give an explanation. They can say, it hit my expectations. We did what we were supposed to do. That's good. Anything below an 8, you can say, well, John got on a tangent. Danny, you're running the meeting. You were supposed to keep him off his phone, and he was on his phone, and this happened. So I gave it a 5 this week. And I can take that feedback and go, you're right. And then the other people can hear it as well. Or you can say it was a 10. We knocked out all of our to-dos. I feel so energized to go forward. We stayed so on track. We've just never done it like this before. I just hope that every meeting can be like this in the future. And then you can take that as encouragement on what to do better next time. So that would be why you do the rating at the end there. And that's kind of the meeting, yeah.
Obviously, this is not a fast transition from not doing this to doing this properly.
Right.
Generally, how long does it take? How many meetings like this?
The first thing that I like to tell people is that it all depends on the owners and the leadership, because it is generally you who are the problem, and you are the ones who are going to have to correct.
Right.
And generally people are pretty open to that, but if they're not, then it'll take a lot longer.
Like dog training.
Yep. You're the issue.
It took us, get fully up and running. Realistically, we were functional after the first quarter. The first quarter was janky, for
Yep.
sure. Just trying to figure all the terminology out. The second quarter was a little bit better, because every quarter you do a review, what went well, what didn't, what are we gonna improve? We tightened everything down. By the third quarter, I think we were marching along pretty well. We've been doing this system now for a year and a quarter. And our first rocks,
Yep.
oh, were a mess. I mean, we were just aiming for anything, and it was just sloppy. We really tied it down. And it did take us, I would say, 3 quarters to really kind of come along and understand what we're doing. And the hardest part, my observation, and I've been in a lot of organizations over the years, is getting everybody aligned. And as a result, in the course of that first year and a quarter, we lost 4 employees because they didn't get it, they didn't want it, they didn't like the system. It was really, this accountability really boils to the surface that as people that aren't really towing the rope, and they were really uncomfortable with it, the whole system. But boy, we felt bad letting them go, but we could point to weekly notes.
Yeah.
It's just not getting done, and something's wrong here, it doesn't fit. And boy, when it came to letting go, it was not a hostile, they knew it, they saw it, the writing on the wall. And we use this as our part of our hiring process, and our last 2 hires are hitting it over the fence. I mean, they completely align with the organization, and they get it. But it took a good 3/4 of a year to get to that point. It's frustrating, but we're there. So
Once you get there, it's good. And that kind of focuses on the right person, right seat, which I don't know if you got there yet, Alex, but because I think you guys still got a couple more quarters before you'll keep going.
Yeah.
But you're gonna get introduced to some more things, but it helps with your hiring process because people are all making decisions based on the same thing. You start realizing right person, right seat, like, or wrong person, wrong seat. This person has this skill. Why are we having them do this?
Yeah.
Oh, we really like him and he kind of likes that job. Like, well, he's not doing a very good job, but he could move over here and do a lot better.
Yeah, well, for both of you, for Alex, you too, if you could go back in time now, what would you do differently in order to roll that out more efficiently or smoother or quickly? Would you bring in an expert in the system, or how would you go about it now?
when we started, Rob Taylor's, no relation to me, is coming to speak to this group in a couple weeks, I don't know, a month or so. He's actually, what do they call him, a facilitator,
Implementer.
implementer. And we had a professional implementer meet with us once a month for the first quarter, just making sure we were tracking and following. But we had a full day retreat to get it started, actually 2-day retreat to get it launched, and then full day once a month for the first quarter, and then just once a quarter for our quarterly review. And now we're weaned to the point where we just meet with her once a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we touch base, we have a touch base
Yep.
at some point along the way. So having a coach, basically a business coach, walk us through the process and talk us off the ledge when we get frustrated.
Well, and understand the value in it is one of the biggest things that people don't make the leap because they're like, oh, I'm not going to take 2 days off. We have do all the things we're going to miss. And we always call that working on the business, not in the business. And if you are taking the time to step away from your business and really work on it, you get so much more done than getting just stuck in the day-to-day. One other thing that is there is I started assigning people clarity breaks. And that is turning off all your technology and all you get is a notepad and a pencil. And in Fairfield, this seems like, yeah, of course, but everywhere else in the world, people don't really understand that. It's like, think about just your 3 biggest problems and turn everything else off. And then you have an hour. And then I started where I would actually put that on the calendar. I'd put other people's clarity breaks on the calendar. And then I would call them. Why are you answering your phone right now? You're on a clarity break. Oh,
Yeah.
no, you're not. Put your freaking phone down and then send me your notes in 1 hour when you're done with it. I'd love to hear it. Hold people accountable. I wasn't mean about it, but I know the guy that I learned from the most, he's yeah. He had people that he would literally say, like, I'm gonna drive past your house, and if you're on your phone or whatever, if I call you and you answer, you're fired. It's like, you haven't been taking your clarity breaks. I know it from your work, and I swear if you don't do this, and they're like, all right. It's like, I'm not that intense, but and he was, halfway joking about it, but he wanted to express the importance of it. Because people don't understand how important that can really be until they start doing it and making it a practice.
I think that one of the most important things to think about when you implement something like this is it's a cultural shift, but also personal accountability and ownership of your own job and clarity on tasks makes people happy.
Yeah, that's what I always go to.
Because I did my job this week. I don't have to go, was it good? Was it bad? Like, what, did I get everything done? Or it was like a vague idea of what I'm supposed to get done, and did I do it the right way? So all those things, you just can go home at the end of the week and just relax. Because you did what you had set out to do, and you share your own expectations of yourself, and there's an alignment with what the company expects.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things is you go to sleep, and that's why I was mentioning about the to-dos. Like, you have your to-dos, you do those. You got your stuff done. Everyone's happy with you. You know what to do this week. There's no, what am I supposed to do? I'm not sure if this is right. But the other, maybe not even the other side of the coin, but another benefit of that is it just creates freedom. Because people are now holding themselves accountable. Now they're in charge of the next things that they do. Now they're getting more creative and they're like, I know this is done, now I can do more. And when you start giving people the correct direction, which would be, you know, the vision and the core values, or a way to make decisions for the company, for everybody around them, then all of a sudden they stop asking or feeling anxious about making a decision that costs the company $500. They just go, oh, I know I can do that because I thought of these 5 things first. Like, I'm going the right direction, go for it. Yeah, fix the, I don't know why I'm going to the fix the mixer, but you know, at a certain point, you might go into that and you might go, why isn't this done already? And if they say something like, well, I didn't know if I could do that. And you just go, well, is it going to make the employees around you happier? Is it going to help us produce this product? You know, is it under $500? You might have a limit or something like that on where people need approval. And then you go, yes, yes, yes. And why are you talking to me right now? That should have been done 3 days ago. And you have full freedom to do it and let them make mistakes. Someone's gonna make, oh, it was $550.
I would also say one of the hardest things in adjusting culturally was just having the honest, frank conversation too.
Yeah.
You know, Danny, you're not wearing a white button-down shirt, that's part of our values, and if you look at our core values. But no, and it's meant not personal, it is, as Danny says, it's pretty just, you try to trim all the fat that the plaque that gets in our businesses, in our operations.
Those tough conversations become a lot easier. As I've said, I've had to let many people go, but I've never had to fire anyone. I've just had people who have fired themselves.
Yeah.
They've decided they don't want to work here because I went through and I said, here's our core values. Here's where I want you to improve. Here's what we've all agreed on. This is the direction we're going. How can I help you get there? If you choose not to get there, then you're choosing not to be part of this.
Yeah.
And then the next conversation 2 weeks later is, hey, we talked about this, this, and this. What have you done? Nothing. Okay. I think you know where this is going.
Yeah.
It's also a switch in your HR approach, because a lot of people say, oh, I need somebody who knows how to run the mixer. I know how to, I know you have to be an expert in cement mixing, whatever, X, Y, Z, and then you have the driver's license, whatever, all that stuff. But what you really are looking for is a cultural fit, because you can teach anybody to run a cement mixer.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things we ask people, like, what do you read? What do you do for fun? Are you going to fit in with this team and this culture?
Yeah.
Because it is a completely different way to work.
Mhm.
I think it's way more effective and highly productive, but it's kind of like, it's fun to be productive here. We have a lot of fun together.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And somebody who's like into like appearances, only, typing when the boss is walking by, just like those guys. Those gals.
And there's a pretty simple chart. Have you guys done the right person, right seat?
Yep.
Yeah. There's a pretty simple little chart. And
Get
it's
it,
like,
get it, want it.
yep,
have
get
the
it one. Capacity to do it. Yep, core values. But there's the people who understand what they're supposed to do, are really good at it, and they want it, and they're your rock stars. And the opposite, the worst spot that you can be is someone who's really good at doing it, doesn't really want it, and doesn't follow your core values. So they're incredibly good at the job, but they just drag everybody else out around them. And so when you start making decisions based on your core values, you start getting rid of that person that no one will fire, even though they are, they're a pest. They're somebody that's dragging everybody else down. And those are so hard to do because, oh, he's such a good sales guy. He's the best. It's like, yeah, but he doesn't follow our core values. He's not doing everything else. So that's where your mind's saying, I care more about the dollar than I do about this company and all the other people around them. And sorry, those don't fit in our core values, and you don't fit in there. So yeah.
One last question.
What's the grace period? I mean, I asked about how long it took to get this done, but shifting company culture is obviously top down, but incredibly difficult. So what is the grace period that you can
Depends
generally?
Depends on the size of the company.
Okay.
I would say 6 quarters.
6 quarters.
Yeah.
But 6 quarters, you're allowing.
There's a lot changing.
Sure.
Yeah, and you're already getting there. But after, I would say about 6 quarters, you would actually be moving strong forward, where that's where you're hiring your frontline staff the correct way.
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, but like if you're seeing problem, well, that's not, I hate to say problem people.
Yep.
Or not good fits.
Yep.
Within, 3 weeks, and they're still not fitting into this or seeing an improvement on the shift. Is that the grace period? Is that like the,
Oh,
I mean, I know.
no. So if you're talking about a problem employee, there's, again, this is the very bottom layer. Everything in between here would be, how do you do reviews with people?
Yeah.
And are you doing quarterly reviews, which they call them the 5x5x5, which is you check on the core values, their roles and responsibilities, direction. But are you doing that with everyone? So if you had a problem person, you don't need to wait 6 quarters to do that.
That's what, yeah.
You have a conversation with them. Hey, here's what we're seeing. And then if you were implementing something like this, then you would do some version of a 5x5. I could talk to you a little bit about it,
Yeah.
but there's just real clear things. Here's what I'm expecting of you. Here's what I'm seeing right now. We're going to be checking in next week, and I want to see where you've improved. And then we're going to check in the week after that. So if you have somebody that you want to save, give them the grace if you want to.
Yeah.
And if you want to give them the grace, then do it, but do it properly. And then you say every single week, here's why I'm having this conversation. I'm not coming down on you, but here's where I need you to be. And I want to keep you on. So here's what I expect from you next week. What are you going to do? Next week. You didn't do any of those things. Who made that decision?
Right, and the way that you're basically talking about it is that people are creating their own goal list. Like,
Yes.
I wanna do this, I wanna have this done, I wanna be like this.
And they're sharing it with
What I'm
everybody
working on.
else, so they're
So you
accountable.
basically make you accountable to your own goal list.
And the
You haven't, this is what you told me your goals are.
And the biggest thing there is when you implement this is you're treating everyone the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see this rock star salesman getting a pass on this thing that you fired somebody else for because they weren't as good as a salesman, no. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, that guy kind of sucks anyway. Who cares? Just fire him. And then you have this rock star and you're like, I can't fire this person. And it's like, well, you fired that person for the exact same thing. What does that do for your whole culture is it shows that I care of all of you more than I do about this individual. We're all doing something together and this one's not going to drag us down. We're going to treat everybody the same.
Where were you a year ago?
Yeah.
He's here now. He's here now.
So for entrepreneurs, when you start a business, always keep the culture in mind and know that there are tools out there and the resources here at Traction Thursday. Danny's around, I'm around, and we've got resources around the state. We're glad to work with you. Let's get Danny.